today I'm trying two Pepsi flavors that clearly were not designed for me emotionally. We have white peach and oolong, and we have white pomelo and bamboo. I think both of these are from China, but I am no expert, so I could be wrong. In either case, they're not from the USA, and I'm excited to try them. Okay. And while I drink them, I want to tell you a completely real story about a time when Pepsi briefly became one of the most powerful naval forces on the earth. It's not a joke. It's not some sort of metaphor. They literally had a navy for a minute. It's sort of a story of late Cold War capitalism doing what it does best, right? And yes, it involves communism losing again. So in the 70s and 80s, the Soviet Union had a problem. Actually, it had a lot of problems, but one of them was this. They wanted Western products, but they didn't have the money for them. Communism might be great for a lot of things, but paying for stuff is not one of them. The ruble wasn't accepted internationally, so when Pepsi wanted to sell soda to the Soviet Union, the Soviets said something along the lines of, "We don't have cash, but we do have some other things." And Pepsi, being an American company powered mostly by optimism and questionable decisions, along with a lot of sugar, copious amounts of sugar, they said, okay, yeah, we'll take payments in other assets. So instead of money, the Soviets paid Pepsi with vodka distribution rights, which means at one point, Pepsi was responsible for moving Soviet vodka around the world. This alone would have made a pretty interesting story and could have been, great on its own. But Pepsi wasn't done yet. Capitalism wasn't done yet. But I'll finish the story after I try this first drink, okay? Hey, everybody, let me interject real quick to just politely ask that you like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and really help me to make more videos. Thanks. This is white peach and oolong. So oolong is obviously a tea. White peach in some parts of Asia is considered like a luxury flavor. So I think this is supposed to be sort of a sophisticated drink. You can smell some peach. Interesting. It's surprisingly restrained for Pepsi. A lot like the Soviet economy was not. The peach is subtle. The oolong tea finishes sort of dry. Pepsi is clearly saying to these flavors, please don't overthrow us. And they don't. They just sort of add to its sweetness, which I like this more than regular Pepsi. I think regular Pepsi is better referred to as sugary piss water. And this adds some nuance and flavor to it, which I think are really good. So anyway, moving on in the story. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union wanted more Pepsi, and vodka wasn't going to pay the bills for that. They still didn't have the money. So they paid again with assets, and this time with military assets, military hardware. In payment for Pepsi products, Pepsi accepted the following from the Soviet Union: 17 submarines, a cruiser, a destroyer, several frigates, and oil tankers. Right? So for a brief moment in 1989, Pepsi owned the 6th largest navy in the world. Now, let me say that again for those of you who may not have heard, those in the back row. A soda company owned submarines. Somewhere a communist accountant signed off on that agreement. And someone here at Pepsi said, yeah, good deal, right? Kind of hard to believe, but true. And I have to think if it was Coke, they would have held on to that and tried to take over their own country. But that's not what happened. And it was Pepsi. So when asked about this, a Pepsi executive reportedly said, "We're disarming the Soviet Union faster than the US government," which might be the most American sentence ever spoken. The US government couldn't collapse communism fast enough, and Pepsi said, hey, hold my cola. Let's try this other one. This one, like I said, is pomelo and bamboo. Pomelo's not white pomelo. It's not a citrus that we usually eat here in the US, but it is a citrusy drink. And bamboo, I don't know what sort of flavor that is. Maybe essence of panda, but we'll see. This one tastes more like Pepsi with a subtle citrus. Tastes sweeter to me than the white peach oolong, but also tastes clean, very clean, like something you drink while quietly realizing your economic system is failing. Pomelo is citrusy and the bamboo tastes ideological. I don't know. Let's get back to the story. So what did Pepsi do with the Navy? Well, Pepsi didn't keep the submarines, unfortunately, which would have been cool, though it's kind of understandable. There's probably a lot of upkeep there. They immediately sold the ships for scrap, which means Pepsi briefly owned a Navy and then melted it down for parts. But this is really capitalism at its purest, right? Communism builds the weapons, capitalism sells them for cash. Not long after this deal, the Soviet Union collapsed. I mean, big surprise, right? I'm not saying Pepsi caused it. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that if your economic system ends with submarines being traded for soda, the vibes are not good. America won the Cold War without firing a shot, and Pepsi fired carbonation and sugar. So when I drink these two Pepsis from Asia, I'm reminded of something important. Pepsi has traded with communist regimes, owned submarines, helped dismantle a global superpower, and still found time to make a bamboo soda. And that's beautiful in its own way. Communism tried to control everything. America sold soda and won. Between the two flavors, I'd say, the white peach and oolong is my favorite. It feels very diplomatic. The white pomelo and bamboo, not as good. It feels like it knows too much. A little haughty. Either way, this tastes deliciously like freedom, carbonated freedom. Anyway, if you like this story, please make sure to like and subscribe, comment below. Let me know what other stories you'd like to hear. And as always, thanks for tuning in.